Hello coders, and thanks for joining us for another Unity scripting tutorial. This tutorial is brought to you via the request of 504 Roan, who wanted to know how he could get his scripts to communicate with each other. Now there's two ways that are obvious for doing this, and what it is two functions. One is GetComponent and the other is SendMessage. There's also things like broadcast message, which I'm not really going to get into, but I will talk about the two major ones, which are GetComponent and SendMessage. And I'll talk about the similarities and differences between both of those. All right, so what we're going to be doing is, if you see these two cubes here, I'm going to be pressing A to change this color's cube, or this cube's color, and I'm going to be pressing D to change this cube's color, and it's all going to be done from a remote script. Okay, and now what I have attached to these cubes is a script called change cube color, and I inserted an array of different colors for it to iterate across as I press these keys. All right, so again, this tutorial isn't going to be about writing or how to write these scripts. Instead, it's just going to be showing you how we can get our scripts to communicate in an effective way. Okay. All right, so this is the method that we're going to be attempting to access from a remote script. And if we're using GetComponent, this needs to be public because GetComponent is going to be using the dot operator to access methods, while the SendMessage method is not. Okay, so I'll talk about that in a second, but we're going to be using GetComponent first. So if you use it, make sure that your methods that you're trying to access are public. All right, so what we need to do is come to Unity, and we need to create a new script that's going to be controlling these cubes' colors. So I'm going to right-click in the project panel, go to Create, New C# script, and I'm going to call this C# script Cube Color Controller. All right, and I'm going to go back to my scripting editor. I'm going to find the script here called Cube Color Controller. All right, and I'm just going to erase all of this default code here. Now, there's definitely many ways to do this, but I'm going to break it down as much as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a game object for cube1. So I'm creating a game object for cube1, and I'm creating a game object for cube2. And then what I'm going to be doing is finding I need to access the script inside cube1. So that component, that cube's component script is called change cube color, and so I need a variable for change cube color. So what I'm going to do is create a variable of type change cube color, and this is going to be cube1 script and cube2 script. Okay, so again, it's definitely possible to do all of this with basically just these variables, but I want to break it down using the game object variables as well. And the reason is because I want to show you how this is how this is derived from game object. Okay, so I'm going to be using the start to initialize, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cube1 equals game object dot find game object with tag, and I assigned a tag to the cube. So let's look at that real quick. So each one of my cubes has a tag. Cube1 has a tag called cube1 right here, and cube2 has a tag called cube2 right there. Okay, so you might be wondering why am I using, if you're familiar at all with Unity script, why am I using find game object with tag versus dot find and then just passing the name of the variable or the component instead of just finding the name of the object. And the reason is because, and you'll see this used a lot, people will just say find and then they'll pass the string name so they don't have to create a tag. And the problem is dot find is a lot less efficient. So if you have a lot of objects in your hierarchy, you don't want to have to search through all those. If you're using tags, it's going to be quicker. So it's a good habit to get into, just using find game object with tag. All right, and so cube1 is going to find game object with tag cube1, and cube2. Okay, so cube2 is going to be finding the game object with the tag of cube2. Okay, and so this doesn't really do much for us because what we need really to access is the script attached to this cube, and that's the reason I created these variables right up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cube1 script equals cube1 dot getComponent. So getComponent, and I'm going to be finding this component within it. So change cube color is the component I'm getting from this object. And then I can say cube2 script equals cube2.getComponent change cube color. Okay. So what this is doing is it's getting the component on cube 1 called change cube color, and it's getting the component on cube 2 called change cube color, because they both have the same script. Okay, so that's going to cover that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say void update, and I'm going to be looking for different input keys. So if input.getKey up, key code, I'll say A for the left cube. Then what we're going to do is say cube1 script dot. So like I said, with getComponent, we're going to be using the dot operator to access our members, and that's why our function name needed to be public. So dot change colors instant. All right. And this is the method that we are accessing, as I said before, from another script. So right here, that's the one we're accessing. And I'm going to do the same thing for my cube2 script. Only this time I'm going to be looking for D. So anytime I press A, it's going to change the cube's color on the left. Anytime I press D, it's going to change the cube's color on the right. And make sure we say cube2 script.change color instant. And this is all we need to do for our cube color controller. All right, so let's go back to Unity. And I need to put my cube color controller on some game object inside the hierarchy so that it's actually going to be able to operate. And for now, it doesn't matter too much, so I'm just going to put it, I'm going to attach it to the main camera. Okay, so I'm just going to drag and drop it onto the main camera. And as you can see, it shows up right here. Okay, that should be it. So let's go ahead and run this to see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm pressing A and it's changing the cube's color on the left. If I press D, it changes the cube's color on the right. And as you can see, we are accessing this function change colors instant from a remote script using getComponent. Now I mentioned there was another method for doing this by using what is called SendMessage. Okay, and now if we use SendMessage, we don't need to make this public, and so that's, I guess that's one of the plus sides to it. So we can keep our script's functions more privatized, but I'll talk about some downsides in just a minute. So with this, all we need to do is have a game object. Okay, we don't need any component. We don't need any component references. Okay, so we can get rid of all these cube script variables, which is another plus to it. The attraction to SendMessage is its convenience, most definitely, but it is wildly inefficient. So what I can do is I can say cube1.SendMessage, and I need to find that function name. So all we're going to be doing is passing the function name as a string. Okay, so I copied and pasted that. I'm going to come back, and so what I'm doing is I'm saying cube1.SendMessage change colors instance as a string. And what this is going to do is it's going to look at cube1. This is why this is so inefficient. It's going to go to cube1, and what it's going to do is it's first going to find the scripts. And let's say that my cube could have 20 scripts attached to it. And what SendMessage does is it looks at all the scripts and it runs through every single function until it finds, change colors instant. Okay, and so what you're doing is you're doing this huge lookup for this method, whereas getComponent accesses that method directly with very efficient lookup time. Okay, and so this is why SendMessage is not the ideal solution. However, it's very convenient, which is why people typically will use it. All right, so this should actually work for us, cube2.SendMessage and cube1.SendMessage. And again, using SendMessage is a member of game object. Okay, so let's go back to Unity and see it working. All right, so I can still press A and it changes the cube's left cube's color. I can still press D and it changes the right cube's color. All right, so that's going to conclude this tutorial on script communication, guys. I hope you guys learned what you needed to. If you liked the video, go ahead and drop a like for us so we know we can keep doing videos like this. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.